today I want to talk to you about this card. Okay, and this is made using items from Couture Creations' new Gentlemans Emporium Collection. Now they do 12 by 12 papers for this, but this particular card I've made using the 6 by 6 paper pad, and it's a lovely paper pad. You know, lots of the pages are pretty much almost an instant card. You don't need much else. The papers do the work for you. So let me just have a quick flick through here. I'm just going to put the camera a little bit more upright, because that'll look better for flicking through the book. Now, even the inside of the cover has got bits you can cut out and use. And then the papers, it's always easy to go from the back to the front on these, I think, or front to back. Let's do it that way. So you've got that one, you get 2 of each. So all kinds of sort of old-fashioned gentleman things, and great patterns on the back as well. And some of them have got these nice embellishment strips you can cut on the back. Really hard to actually decide which ones to use for what, because they're all so brilliant. Slightly different hues. Some are greeny hues, some are blue, and some are kind of a black and cream, so beigey kind of colour. So a really lovely little paper pad. As I say, you get two of each page. That's the other one to the one I've used. And yeah, just so many possibilities. And also in the Gentleman's Emporium collection, there are some new hot foil plates, and one of the sets, and you get all 3 in the set, are embellishment strips. So that's what I've used to do this border piece along here. So you get all 3 in the set, as I say. So you've got this one, and the one I've used on this card, which is this one, and then you've got this one, which almost kind of looks like squiggly writing, or doodle butterflies or something kind of similar to that. And I've foiled here on some beige card in a grey shiny foil. It's this foil. Okay, so it's the grey. They call it a mirror finish, but it's a shiny foil rather than a dark foil. So that's the dark grey foil. And I'm loving that for men's cards, anything with a masculine feel. The pocket watch is also a die in the collection, and I cut that out of some black card, actually cut it out twice, and then just highlighted its detail with some gilding wax, and added a backing in the beige card, and done my sentiment on the beige card as well. And that's using a die from the one of the Modern Essentials cut foil and embossed die sets. Okay, lots of sizes in that particular set. But I wanted to talk about how I did this border, because I could imagine people having a frustrating time trying to get these to fall on their card straight and then be able to cut them out. So I thought I'd just show you how I did it, because I thought, well, that worked quite well. I only had to do it once, which is always a bonus when you're foiling. So that's what I want to look at in this particular video. So I'm using this one. I'm going to put the others to one side. I'm just going to turn my GoPress and 4 back on, because I heated it up, and then I've been so long setting up to record that it's gone to sleep. So I've got this one. I've cut a piece of card. Now these are about 18 centimetres long. I suspect there's something imperial that they're equivalent to, that's an exact measurement. So I've got a piece of card that's just over that length, the length of this, and I've cut it to 3 inches wide. And the reason I've done that is so that when I put it on my GoPress, I can butt one edge up against the edge of the go press and not have this right at the edge, so I can get it in, sitting in some space. So I think it will fall better if it's not up against the edge. So I also need some foil, and I thought, well, you've seen how it looks on the card in the foil I've used there, so I thought I'd do something different. And I've used my piece of card to cut myself a length of foil, and I've cut it slightly over long. And then I've also used my piece of card and just put it down and kind of made some gentle fold lines to give me some guides to cut strips of foil to use for this foiling plate. Okay, so it's too wide to go that way. Let me just point the camera down a little bit more. Yeah, it's too wide to go that way. Yeah, you need longer foil, so it's got to be that way. But you can cut your length and then cut it into strips. Okay, so I'm using my big scissors to cut my foil. The fold lines I've put in there, they're not a harsh crease, but they're enough to give me a guide of where to cut, so I can cut straightish anyway. Okay, and I've made them a bit wider than I need, so if my scissors have wobbled a little bit, I won't waste the foil. Okay, so that's that. Then I need a magnet. Now these are the sorts of magnets you get for the stamping platforms, and mine's covered in a nice big piece of masking tape wrapped around it so that I can pick it up easily. So on the go press of foil, okay, what I want to do is I want to be able to put my card against this edge like this, and I'm going to put it probably at the 1 inch mark when I put it down, but I need my hot foil stamp to be in the right place underneath it. So I'm just going to come in a little bit from the edge, I think. Make sure my hot foil stamp, I want it nicely centred in the card, and I want it the right way up. So I don't want to be seeing the pattern. And put my magnet on the back. I want to make sure it's absolutely straight if I can. Maybe I will put it just a little tiny bit in from the edge, because then it's quite easy to see if it's not straight. Okay, and then I'm going to put it that way round, put it up against this side, I say, with the end of my card at the 1 inch mark. Now the other thing I want to make sure, see it's moved already, is that it's the same distance from each end of my card, so it's centred end to end. Okay, and I'm going to put that down. So my go press is hot, so I'm being quite careful. Put my card with the 1 inch mark, and then I'm actually butting it up against the white plastic to make sure it's absolutely straight. Hold down the card where the hot foil stamp is, and that holds that in place while you slide the magnet off. And then I'm going to just check against the grid lines and make sure that is straight, and it's not. So I'm just going to move it a tad. And then I can just lay my card over again and make sure that's still going to be underneath the card. Yep, that'll be fine. Okay, so that needs to warm up, so I'm going to put it back on the base. And while that's warming up, I'm going to find some shims. Now I'm quite familiar with the cardstock I normally use, so a double shim, so 2 layers of 250 GSM card, is normally what I use with this cardstock and with Couture Creations foil. So I've got a piece of A5 card folded in half. That's my long thin double shim. I'm actually looking at the indents in that, and you can see I've used that for another similar foiling for another project on one of the other ones. So that's warming up. That's now warm. Move my magnet out of the way. And I need a piece of tape. Low tack masking tape. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back. Now if you're wondering why I didn't do this all at the start, I find I get less overfoiling if I don't have to heat the foil very long. Okay, so there goes my foil. And then I want my piece of card, and up against the 1 inch and along the side. And I'm going to tape it in place to the white plastic. Okay, so I'm not taping to the hot part, only to the white plastic. And then I can put my shim on. That only needs to be over where the hot foil stamp is. Close my lid. Now because I've taken this off my base to do that, I'm just going to put it back on the base and make sure it is at temperature. Okay, and it's not. Okay, but it won't take a minute, so I'm just going to turn this round so you can see my die cutting machine. And just wait for that to come back to temperature before I roll it. Normally I leave it on the base unit and just lift the lid up and work on the base, but with the setup I have when I'm videoing, that's not good for you to see what I'm doing. Right, so this now goes for the die cutting machine. There's my shim. Let's lift this off. I'm going to leave the hot foil stamp exactly where it is. Put this back on the base. A piece of card is because when you try and trim this, let me get my guillotine. If I decide I want to take a bit off the edge of this, and I'm not going to do it until after I finish foiling, then if I've only got a narrow strip, it's very, very difficult to make sure it's straight in any sort of cutter, because you've not got anything to kind of butt up against the stop here. So that's why I've used a wider piece of card. And I'm going to foil the other side. And then we can see the possibilities. Okay, so another piece of foil, was the same length. Okay, so let's bring the GoPress over. Add my foil. And then I need to make sure my card goes the other way so that the bit I've already foiled is up against the edge. Tape it down. Don't forget the shim. Okay, now that's been fairly quick. It shouldn't need much time to heat up, but I've put it back in and the red light has started flashing. So let's just turn this. There we go. are. So I can see it's pressed in quite nicely. There we are. Okay, so the middle bit's lined up, so it's nicely lined up down both sides. So I could use this on a card and go kind of get my card blank. So I could go cut it down a bit and go across a card and put sentiment in here and do that, or I can cut this into 2 strips and have them completely separate. So let me show you the cutting and then you'll understand why I wanted a wide piece of card. Okay, so I'm going to trim it down the outside edge a little bit first. And as I say, it's much easier to work with a bigger piece of card. So I'm just going to eyeball, just can't almost line up with my guard, and just take a little bit off the outside. And this is my Couture Creations mini guillotine, and it's changed the way I craft. I used to be that person who measured everything, and now I'm much happier just doing things by eye for things like this, where I just want to trim a bit. About there. So I've got enough card at the top here to know that I've got that straight, because that end is straight and there's enough of it that when I butt it up against here, it holds my card straight. I just want to come over just a little bit. Make sure it's straight. See, it's not because of the guidelines. There we are. That's too far out. So literally just taking a little bit off that edge. Okay, and then I want to cut this into 2 separate strips. So I can now, again, I've still got enough that I can handle the card and keep it up against that end. I actually figure out where that's going to cut. I want to go over just a little bit more. So there's my strip, and as I say, it would have been, if I'd started off with a piece of card that side and needed to trim a bit, it would have been so fiddly to get underneath the guard and hold it straight and do that kind of thing. And even with this piece, I've still got enough here, I can turn it round and get lined up and know that I'm going to be cutting straight. Go a little bit further out. And actually, if your lighting is good, I can see the guard, see the cutting edge through the card. I love the guidelines across on this, because even if I'm not confident that I can square with the top, because I've only got a little bit of the card against it, I've then got the lines coming down that I can put an edge against. And there, so that's cut nice and straight, because on something like this, if your cut's not straight and you need to straighten it out, can you imagine, I mean, let me take that out. If you imagine me trying to get this under here into a position where I can actually cut it straight, that's very difficult. So starting off with a larger piece of card saves me that trouble when I come to cut it later. Okay. So, Couture Creations mini guillotine, fabulous tool, and I think I've got some little bits of overfoiling on that. Let me just get a brush. sometimes your overfoiling isn't actually attached, and if you just brush with a soft brush, you find it just disappears because it's not actually attached to the card. It's just attached to the foil that is attached to the card. So I'm just brushing that. Some of that's come away, some of it hasn't. And because it's the little dots in the middle on this one, I'm just going to very gently with the sand eraser, just tickle them almost. There. So now I've got my 2 strips. They're identical width. They line up, so if I'm using them either side of something, then they're going to match. There we are. Great set of hot foil stamps. I just know I'm going to be using them an awful lot, not just with this collection, but in all sorts of ways, because they can be glam, they can be feminine, you know, they can be masculine. They can be whatever you need them to be, depending on your colour combinations and just where you're using them. Okay, thanks for watching.